Hi, this is part 2 of your Human Design Evolution Report for this week. I want to talk in this video about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and the winter solstice. There's a lot of talk going on in the world of astrology about tomorrow, the winter solstice, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, this event that happens once every 800 years, that this is the beginning of the age of Aquarius. I want to lovingly and gently remind you, and there's a lot of controversy about this, so I'm not going to fight about this. There are no celestial events that are going to automatically kick you into a state of ascension. There's no planetary movement that's going to open up some new age or some new era of peace and harmony and understanding if you don't do the work first. I hear in the conversations about the age of Aquarius some kind of hoping for magic. And while I do believe that there's magic abounding here, there's potential for magic everywhere, all the time, regardless of the transits, that certainly the transits, the celestial weather, bring us catalytic points, openings, if you will, to portals, but we can't go through those cosmic portals if we don't do the work. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction tomorrow moves, first of all, it's called a grand mutation because not only are these two planets together, they're shifting the element of the signs that they're in. So we're moving from Aquarius into, they're moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. So moving from an earth energy that's been dense and heavy, and many of us have really felt like momentum has been elusive at best. So we're moving from this really dense, grounded, heavy energy into this air energy. And this air energy gives us the fuel for fire and momentum and this ability to move at this breathless, intense speed. But nothing in the celestial weather is going to happen in such a way that it's all weighted towards one element. The elements play together, and it's in the totality of all the way the different elements in the planetary positions play together that give us the entire story, the plot outline. So while we may get all excited about Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius, let's not forget that Uranus is also in Taurus, a very practical energy. Uranus in Taurus Uranus always, not just in Taurus, Uranus always brings disruption. The disruption that it brings in Taurus forces us to be practical in response. It's grounded and earthy. So even though there's all this fire and momentum, we're still going to have to do the grounded parts of the chart too, which basically means you don't get to go into the age of Aquarius, if you want to call it that, unless you do your homework, unless you do your inner work, unless you explore what you need to bring into the next era, into the next new age, if you will. So in human design, these two planets move into the gate 60. This is a gate that I like to call the gate of conservation. It's an interesting energy because anytime we have energy in the chart that's what I call mutative, or what is called mutative, anytime we have energy for change and transformation in the human design chart, it's coupled in an interesting way. There's always a gate that's all about momentum, and in that same channel there's another gate, the electromagnetic, that's all about holding back and conserving. Evolution needs both mutation, change, transformation, but also change that's coupled with conservatism, being conservative in the approach. It makes total sense if you think about it. You don't want to go make a change willy-nilly without making sure that you're checking in and taking with you as you go on a transformational journey everything that has worked from before. You don't want to burn down the whole building and start over from scratch if the building itself had elements that you really enjoyed and loved that were working. So the 60 says, we will take with us the things that are working, and that bringing with us the things that are working support us in innovating and innovating well. The way I like to look at Jupiter and Saturn playing together, and they play together kind of nicely, is Saturn is a great teacher. Saturn brings us the energy and the alchemical process to burn away the dross, if you will, get rid of all the things that are not working. Sometimes people call Saturn the great destroyer. I like to call Saturn the big teacher because sometimes, yes, Saturn brings destruction, but the destruction that Saturn brings is all about getting down to the bottom of what's necessary so that we're not wasting our energy trying to take care of things we don't need. So we're not stuck with things in our lives that we don't want, that aren't supporting our growth and expansion. So Saturn comes along and burns everything down. So with Saturn in the 60, we're burning away all the stuff from the past that doesn't work anymore, that we don't want, that we've outgrown. But at the same time, because Saturn also serves the function of teaching and expanding, Saturn is also saying, wait, don't burn it all down. Let's take it apart and let's explore the parts that do work. And let's make sure before we go forward and innovate, before we restructure everything, which is kind of our theme for this year. We've been tearing everything down this year because we're getting ready to go into a massive cycle of restructuring. Before we destroy and just start over from scratch, let's look at what did work, what is working, how, if we're going to restructure, how can we bring with us the things that we want to build upon, the things that we know do work, how can we expand on those things as part of the innovative process. Jupiter comes along and says, once we've completed the challenge that Saturn brings us, Jupiter says, whatever you've done in Saturn, whatever work you've created, I'm going to expand upon it. I'm going to make that work that you've done, I'm going to reward you for that work that you've done. And so Jupiter in the gate 60 also says, hey, let's look at what worked. Let's look at what has been working. How do we find the joy and the blessings of the past? How do we stay in a place of gratitude? How do we stand in awe of what's come before and make sure that as we build towards innovation, that we build in such a way that we expand upon what we know is working? How can we be more resourceful? How can we get better at what we're doing? How can we use what we know works and use it to transform the future? So it's an interesting energy because it is conservative in some ways. It can cause us to want to not move forward because there can be, in the low expression of this energy, a fear of loss, a fear of not bringing with us the things that we love. And that fear of loss can hold us back so rigidly that we get rooted in lackful thinking. And certainly when we look at this in this position, it's a collective energy. It's not only personal, it's collective. So with the whole of the world, all of society is saying, okay, we've had this year of tremendous loss. This year of loss, and depending on your perspective, the loss is going to be different for each and every one of us. Some of us may have lost loved ones. Some of us may have lost our freedom or feel that way. Some of us may feel like we lost an election. That fear of loss can hold us back and keep us from moving forward in a healthy, dynamic, expansive way. So as we go into this, we have to first really take stock of what we've lost or what we perceive as having lost, and make sure that that fear of losing again, if you will, isn't holding us back from moving forward. You know, grief is weird. Grief is sneaky, and it sneaks up on you, and sometimes even years out, you think you've wrestled with grief and it comes back and it reminds you of something. You know, you can get a smell or you can feel an experience of some kind, and it can trigger a grief. And sometimes if we don't fully resolve our grief, it really can hold us back from moving into the future. So certainly this conjunction is a big invitation for us to really make sure we've healed our own grief, that we have allowed ourselves to be compassionate with ourselves around the things that have felt like a loss. But also to recognize that those things that have felt like a loss can also be spaces where perhaps we've created an opening for growth, an opening for expansion, an opening for us to begin to innovate around the question, what else is possible? How can we take this opening in our life that we have experienced perhaps as a result of loss, or experienced as a result of Saturn coming through and taking away the things that are not working? How can we use that as a pushing off point now for growth and expansion? This is a huge, huge question, and a very important question for us to engage in, because the more we can really appreciate with awe and gratitude and see the blessings, the silver lining in the past, the more we can bring forward with us what we've learned and what we need to understand in order to support us in the process of innovating and growing. When we can do that, then we become even more resourceful. we become even better at engineering a future that is genuinely restructured in a way that is more equitable, that is transformative, that is more peaceful. But we can't do that if we don't do it for ourselves first. You can't walk into the future bitter. You can't walk into the future exhausted. You can't walk into the future with a consciousness of lack. You can't walk into the future not loving yourself and not loving each other. And if at any place in your consciousness you're perceiving yourself or the world as being divided or acting as if there's a them and you, or a them and us, depending on whether what we're looking at, any place where you might be pointing to other people as having caused the loss in your life, when you're living from a place of victim consciousness, that consciousness is not going to push you into the new age, if you will. It's going to force you to stay back, to do the work necessary until you can find the blessings in the pain. And then from that place, you'll be able to move forward. So I want to say there's magic here. There's magic here. And as I said, it's an important and vital and catalytic energy. But you're not going to get catalyzed forward if you haven't done the inner work first. And that inner work, that's not remedial. That's not, the cosmic teacher wagging their finger at you and sending you back to first grade. It's just a loving and gentle reminder that this whole story is all for you. That everything in your world is happening for you. We don't like some of it. We resist some of it, sometimes a lot of it. But ultimately, we're in the middle of a giant cosmic curriculum. And we are learning from this curriculum, both individually and from the perspective of our unique parts in the totality of the whole. Let's find the blessings. Let's find what we've seen, especially from this year, the things that have worked, the things that we are wanting to bring with us, the things we've learned that we want to grow upon. Let's bring those things with us, because Jupiter promises to support us in growing those things even more. And let's remember that this cycle of disruption that we're in is ultimately pushing us towards the theme of the age of Aquarius, if you will, by reminding us that the true nature of who we are is love, that we are designed to be self-loving, that we are designed to each and every one of us be empowered, that we are designed to be in the fullest expression of the truth of who we are, to be self-expressive, authentic beings. We are designed to craft for ourselves each and every day our own personal narrative that is worthy of our life, and that narrative sets the tone and direction for our life. We are designed to have a deep and intimate relationship with Source and to know that we are fully supported by Source as we serve our higher purpose. We are designed to be in bodies that are vital, that move our souls into the fulfillment of our purpose. We're designed to receive everything we need to fulfill who we are, and we are designed to ultimately be kind, not only to ourselves, but to each other. And the more we can embody that and do all the work necessary to live from that place, the more the age of Aquarius will be a blessing to you. And if we haven't done that work, then your life's going to show you where perhaps you need to do that work. And with this influence, it might amplify it a little bit, not because it's punishing you, but because it's wanting to show you, hey, look, you deserve better. The world deserves more from you. The world needs the gifts that only you can embody. Do your work and then come with us as we continue to grow into this world of equitable, sustainable, just peace. Have a great week and enjoy the solstice. And I hope you get to see the stars. I hope it's bright and clear skies for you all around the world. Have a good one.